today we're going to talk about the skeletal system, and we're going to discuss how bones develop, what structures they're made up of, and the functions that our bones have for our body. So just to start off, quick note is that your skeleton doesn't start off as really hard bones the way you have them now. It actually starts off as different cartilages, mainly hyaline cartilage, and some membranes. But by the time you turn 25, all of your bones will have completely hardened. And a quick note, you have 206 bones in your adult body. There are actually more in a baby's body because some of those fuse together later to make some of the bones that we have. So if you look at the skeleton here, you'll notice that our bones are all shaped differently and they come in different sizes, but they're all going to have the same initial development, function, and structure. The types of classifying that we do here are in terms of long bones, short bones, flat bones, irregular bones, and what are known as Wormian bones. So your long bones are any bone that are longer than they are wide. Short bones are the ones that are going to be as wide as they are long, and there's only a few of those in your body. The flat bones are the ones that are really broad in their surface, but not very thick compared to how wide they are. Irregular bones are vertebrae. They're shaped very differently and don't look like any other bones in your body. And then you also have the Wormian bones, and these are the ones that create the sutures inside your head that keep all of those bones together. Notice there is a special kind of short bone. It's known as your patella. It's also what you would call your kneecap. So if you were to look at bones at the microscopic level, you're going to see the cells. They're called osteocytes. Remember, cytes mean cell. Osteo is referring to bones. So this is where you're going to have all of the nutrients that your bones need to grow coming to the bone material, but also all the waste being taken away and put through the blood to get rid of. Around that, you're going to notice a lot of gaps and spaces. We call it the extracellular matrix. It's a lot of inorganic salts are in here because your body needs them to help with the different resiliences and strengths of your bones. You're also going to have some collagen in there to help with that as well. So this is a picture of compact bone. We're going to be looking at compact and spongy bone. You'll notice compact bone looks exactly what it says. It's very tightly packed together. Each little section of this has a central tube, and that central canal allows for the nutrients to come in and out. You'll also notice that they go kind of in a pattern around this whole diagram where you have each one of these little circular sections coming together. But the way they're compressed together is what makes it compact bone. It also is what gives it its strength and its hardness. The spongy bone, however, is a lot more perforated. It's got pores. It's very not as thick, not as hard. And that's a good thing for us. In this area is where you're going to have the red bone marrow. And the red bone marrow is what allows us to produce blood cells. That process is called hematopoiesis, and we need it. So our bones are what give us our red blood cells, and without them, or with this part not behaving the way it should, we wouldn't be able to do that, which would make life a lot harder for all of us. So like I said, we start off with this cartilage as babies, and then as you are developing, your bones develop and become harder and harder through a process called ossification. And that's just going to allow the compact bone and the spongy bone to be created out of the original cartilage. If you look at it here, you'll see that this is completely cartilage. And then it really starts kind of here in the middle of the bone, and then it'll begin on the ends. So you're going to get that compact bone first. The spongy bone kind of starts secondary. So when we come down to a smaller level and look at the way bones are developing, you have intramembranous bones, and these are the ones that originate with sheet-like connective tissue. So these are your flat bones, like in your skull, except for your mandible, which is your jawbone. The other type are endochondral bones. So these are the ones that have this initial development, and they tend to be more of your long bones and your short bones. They produce most of your skeleton. So we've talked about homeostasis before. It's that wanting to have a internal environment that maintains itself and stays at proper levels. Your bones do the same thing. So sometimes your bones have to break down the cells and reabsorb some of that material produced to create them. And other times they need to deposit more bone tissue to fix things. So osteoclasts are the ones that break down bone, and osteoblasts are the cells that actually build up bone. And this is all directed by some of your hormones. So your thyroid and your parathyroid glands produce hormones that tell your body that we need to reabsorb some material from bone or we need to add material from bone. Now, your body's internal environment is very, very important to making your bones grow properly. And these are some of the things that can cause issues. So if you're deficient in some of your vitamins, you're going to get fragile bones, and it's going to slow down your development. Insufficient growth hormone is going to produce dwarfism in some individuals, whereas an excess gives us gigantism. Thyroid hormone levels not being proper is going to delay that bone growth as well. And then our hormones that are produced during development that relate to our sex hormones, those are actually going to stimulate different development in those bones for the hardening of them. And of course, physical stress. If you break a bone, obviously your bone wants to heal itself, so it'll start growing. That's why it's very important if you ever break a bone that, especially a major bone, you want to get it reset properly or it's going to grow improperly and cause more issues. So our functions of our bones. We have support because it gives your body its shape, but it also protects vital organs. So that's the number two, which is protection. Movement. If our muscles didn't have something to attach to, we wouldn't be able to defy gravity and stand upright. It also, like I said before, helps us produce our red blood cells. It stores our inorganic salts that we need not only for bone development, but for other parts of our body. That's why if you're lacking in some of these in your diet, they will actually come out of your bones to help out your other organs. And then it actually is a place for fat storage and fat development as well. Now, something we're going to talk about in each of our systems is how things change throughout your lifetime, because this is your body. You should know it and you should understand what's going to happen to it as you get older. So once you hit about 30, sadly, you're going to have some like little microfractures and things happening, and you can decrease in height. I know it's not the best idea. Also, your calcium levels will start to fall off, so you'll need to take supplements to keep those up, because if you don't have the right amount of calcium, your bones won't stay healthy and hard. So bones do become more brittle. Your osteoclasts, the one that break down bone material, start to outnumber the osteoblasts that create bone material, which also makes the bones more brittle. And your spongy bone will then weaken. Remember, it had all those pores in it, so it wasn't as strong as the compact bone originally, but it weakens and becomes more brittle before the compact bone. That's a problem because that's the part that's on the ends of your long bones, like in places like your hip joints and your knee joints. So that's why a lot of people can have hip fractures later on. And bone loss happens for women during menopause very rapidly, which is why a lot of women, when they hit menopause, will start taking calcium supplements and vitamin D supplements to try to decrease that. And these vertebral compression fractures, like I spoke of before, they're going to become more common. This is also why people can start to have that sort of humped shape when they get a little bit older in their spine due to these little fractures and the loss of calcium and bone with age. I hope this is helpful for you. And just so you know, at the end of the actual link, there is a way to click on it and go to the Bone Structure and Function Quizlet. That should help you to learn some of this a little bit better and get you prepared for later assignments and activities. If you have any questions, please see me.